How to wear the boho elegant style, which is already a trend for fall 2025 and winter 2026. The first item we can include in the boho chic trend, which is not just boho chic but rather an elevated version of boho that is very popular both now and in 2026, is the flare jeans. This type of jeans, slightly wider at the bottom, is excellent and brings a strong reference to the 1970s. It's super interesting, creative, yet still keeps a sophisticated touch. What's most interesting is that you can pair these jeans with other elements of the hippie or boho chic style, creating a look that fits perfectly within this trend. My tip is to bet especially on darker jeans, because that way you'll have a more timeless piece, one that won't go out of style so quickly. Another tip is to avoid those washes and overly detailed designs on jeans. The smoother and more uniform the piece, the longer it will last. One detail I really like to look at in jeans is the stitching. If you notice very well done stitching in an ochre tone on the side seam, a very well finished detail, you know that those jeans will have a more elegant touch. So, prefer these small details and avoid jeans with frayed hems. It doesn't mean you can't wear them. You can, of course. But since we're talking about boho elegant here, it's more interesting to have a hem that's neat and well sewn. Another point that also needs to be mentioned is the height of these jeans. Many times we buy them, especially us shorter women, and we end up with jeans that have too much extra fabric at the bottom. What should you do? Take them to a tailor. Often the difference between a piece that looks more expensive and one that looks cheaper is the detail, the finishing, how much that piece was adjusted to the person. So, if you bought jeans and they have extra length at the bottom, take them to the tailor and ask to adjust the hem to the correct height. And that height will depend on the shoes you plan to wear with those jeans. If you're wearing flat shoes, the hem should be one length. If you're wearing higher shoes, the hem should be another. So, pay attention to these small details because they make the difference between wearing something that looks ordinary and wearing a piece that may even be inexpensive but has the appearance of something more refined. Number 2, within these trends that reflect this boho elegant style are the prints, particularly paisley, which is that bandana-like pattern, and of course, tapestry. The bandana-inspired print you already know will likely appear in lighter, flowier fabrics. We'll see it in many blouses, but especially in dresses. It usually comes associated with softness. Florals can also appear and are generally found in dresses and skirts, though sometimes in blouses as well. These florals will usually be medium to small sized. That doesn't mean we won't find larger florals, but typically what we'll see are medium or small ones. It's rare to find a piece that looks good with an oversized floral pattern. We don't see it often, but it's not impossible, okay ladies? And of course, we will also have tapestry. These tapestry-inspired pieces are generally more opaque and heavier. So, we'll see vests, coats, and these pieces often adorned with embroidery. The idea here is to bring more weight, almost as if it were really a carpet. That's why we call it tapestry. These pieces, since they're heavier and warmer, are excellent complements to the lighter, softer, more transparent and flowy fabrics we see in other items. So, you can wear a very light, soft blouse and then layer it with a heavier embroidered coat that will keep you warm. The same goes for a vest in this tapestry style. You can wear it over a very light, flowy dress. This way, we can adapt this trend both to warmer seasons like spring and summer and to colder ones like fall and winter. And of course, it also depends a lot on your region. Depending on where you live, it might be necessary to wear this type of heavier coat regardless of the season. So, if you were bothered because the boho style always seemed too associated only with summer and spring, and you wanted something a little heavier for winter, yes, you can incorporate this style into all seasons. We just need to add a few accessories. What's interesting about prints is that you can create a very stylish mix of patterns here. But as you know, within the boho trend, we'll always prioritize elegance. So if you're not very used to mixing prints, be careful, okay? Here's a tip. You can pair solid pieces with ruffles, movement, or even a bit of transparency with other pieces that do have a print. This way, you'll achieve a very interesting harmony in your look without worrying too much about whether one thing matches the other. Number 3 is ruffled blouses, especially those with long sleeves and a large amount of ruffles. They have ruffles both on the sleeves and on the bodice. This style is very interesting. It's the kind of blouse I find amazing. It moves, it has flow. Many of them feature a soft transparency, but it's not that sensual kind of transparency. It's more ethereal, that magical fairy or elf-like vibe, you know? So the idea here is to bring a more sublime touch. That's precisely why these pieces pair so well with elegance, because elegance will always highlight subtlety, delicacy, and harmony. These blouses are excellent to wear, for example, with jeans. I actually think the combination of this blouse with jeans is outstanding. They are very comfortable pieces. Generally, they're not too tight on the body. So, for women who don't like very fitted clothing, this blouse works really well. They may come with a neckline, which adds a slightly sensual touch, especially alongside the transparency. But they don't usually come with that bold, daring transparency. Okay, ladies? Sometimes, on the runway, you may see them a bit more revealing, but in everyday wear, they usually have some kind of lining underneath, which makes them much easier to wear. These are pieces that bring a boho chic feel, but without exaggeration, so they don't end up looking overly boho. If you're a woman who liked this trend but feels a bit hesitant about trying it, wondering, will I like it? Will it fit my style? I'd say this is an excellent piece to experiment with. You can go to a store, try it on, and if you like it, you buy it because it doesn't scream boho, yet at the same time it has this ethereal touch. It conveys the idea without looking caricatured, without looking like a costume or hippie style, you know? So, we can definitely include this piece in any wardrobe, especially if you're someone who already enjoys more adorned blouses. If you like printed blouses, if you already wear ruffles, if you enjoy adding a touch of transparency to your outfits, then all these elements will harmonize with this piece. And if you like jeans, especially flare jeans, as I mentioned earlier, this blouse will be a perfect match. I'd say the only thing you need to do is find the shade you love most. What we're going to see in the main stores are shades like burgundy and brown. We'll also see some cream tones and guava pink, which is very trendy right now. So, there will be a wide variety of colors, but all leaning either toward the ethereal or the hippie vibe. So, think green, blue, guava pink, but also lots of brown and lots of turquoise. That's what I've been noticing a lot. And cream. Because cream is also coming in very strong for fall 2025 and winter 2026. Number 4. Within this major trend of elegant boho, we also have boho glam. I had to bring this one to you as well, boho glam, which is basically elevated elegant boho. So, these are pieces that truly convey glamour and power. We'll see the combination of previously mentioned items with coats, lots of fur coats. There will be shine, there will be stronger use of accessories, lots of gold. We'll also see leather incorporated. Leather is very present in this boho glam aesthetic, especially when we think of shoes, bags, and even some jackets and capes, as seen in those Chloe runway shows, both summer and winter collections. So yes, leather is everywhere. For example, we see it a lot in bags, many leather bags. These are not simple-looking leather bags. They have that designer, expensive, collectible look. Boots, often in rich black or brown leather, also stand out. They look like genuine leather pieces, no synthetic look at all. They have that shine, that unmistakable luxury feel. Accessories are also bold. When you see a belt, it's usually a designer belt. There was even a Chloe belt with the brand's name written on it. So all these elements point to high-end, luxurious pieces. This doesn't mean you must wear luxury items, but keep in mind that boho glam is strongly associated with high-cost, luxurious fashion. So remember, it's the small details that set boho glam apart from traditional boho. Another characteristic of boho glam is fewer prints. This doesn't mean prints won't be there, but within this subgenre of elegant boho, there's this peculiarity: fewer prints, more solid pieces, and heavy use of transparency and softness. We'll see a touch of lace here and there, but no large loud prints, nothing too flashy. The idea here is to bring an ultra-luxurious touch to the bohemian aesthetic, so keep this in mind. It needs to look expensive. So, wear that fur coat, it can even be faux fur, okay? Pair it with a beautiful pair of boots, rich golden accessories, a touch of maximalism, and you'll achieve the perfect boho glam look. Number 5 is elegant sheer fabrics. Elegant sheers are, without a doubt, one of the major trends of 2026, appearing in an enormous number of runway shows. We can even say that it is one of the key trends of the year. This sheer style is characterized by being softer, more ethereal, and less sensual. The idea here is to bring that fairy-like, mystical touch that blends beautifully with boho. These sheers usually won't appear too obvious. As the name itself suggests, they are elegant, a little more subtle. The fabrics are not completely transparent. The goal is really to create a veil effect, as if showing the original dress underneath. That brings movement, softness, femininity, and a lot of elegance. It is not a type of sheer whose purpose is to be sensual. It often comes paired with white, lighter tones, and especially parchment tones, which are considered some of the most elegant color choices for 2026. It's also a trend you can wear in many settings, but of course, with some care. It looks stunning in dresses for more special occasions or for slightly more formal attire. And in these cases, this sheer effect is usually paired with more traditional cuts. Often, it can also appear in accessories, like a scarf layered over an outfit, a third piece. It doesn't need to be just on blouses or dresses. Sheer fabrics can appear on dresses, blouses, and even skirts. In skirts, however, it feels a bit more daring, a little more fashion forward. Not everyone will go that far or want such a piece, since it's a bit more conceptual. On blouses and dresses though, it looks excellent, super elegant, and sophisticated. It pairs especially well with ruffled blouses. These blouses look beautiful when combined with this kind of sheer layering, and you can style this softer, more subtle transparency in lighter tones with maximalist accessories, especially statement earrings. They will add an even more elegant and sophisticated touch to the whole look. Without a doubt, this is one of the great trends of 2026, and it's no surprise that it also plays an essential role in boho chic. Number 6, which has everything to do with the previous item, is boots. We'll be seeing a lot of boots, and here we'll have a wide variety within the elegant boho style. The country boot, the riding boot, and also over-the-knee boots. So, you can choose according to your taste. I recommend the country boot for women with a more creative, free-spirited, relaxed, and casual style. This boot has been in fashion over the past few years. In fact, there was even a time when it sold out completely. Who doesn't remember the silver boot phenomenon that suddenly disappeared from stores, mainly thanks to music festivals? So, the country boot has already become a common item in the fashionista wardrobe, but usually, it's worn by women with a freer, bolder vibe, those who already like boho or lean toward a country-inspired look. It's a boot that draws attention to itself. Keep in mind, you need to be a little creative to wear it comfortably, without feeling out of place. My tip: if you want to start wearing it without too much risk, go for a pair without too many adornments, not overly decorated or colorful. Stick with classic shades black, brown, off-white, or cream. This way, you won't buy something you won't use later. This boot isn't exactly luxurious, it's more casual, but it adapts beautifully to the boho elegant style, especially if you have that creative flair. If that's not your case, you can always go for the other boot styles I'll mention here. Take, for example, the riding boot, the one you're seeing in the center of the video. This boot is more elegant, more sophisticated. In fact, every time I talk here on the channel about timeless pieces and elegant wardrobes, I mention the riding boot. It clearly has that high fashion aura, that sense of being a refined classic piece. That's why I'd say that, among the options, this one is very comfortable and practical. You can wear it with a boho elegant look, or with something more traditional and sophisticated. It works in many contexts. It's hard to say that this boot ever went out of style, because it really never has. As I've said before, it belongs to that group of pieces that never go out of fashion, especially for women who prefer a discreet style. So, if you want something that won't draw too much attention in your outfit, this is relatively easy to match. It's also comfortable, usually flat or with a very low heel. Ideal for women who want a reliable, everyday boot, a true wardrobe workhorse. And it's not the kind of piece you'll want to get rid of anytime soon. That's why I always recommend not only trying them on, but also choosing the color wisely. It would be a shame to buy such a beautiful, timeless boot in the wrong color. I recommend brown, and here, you can explore variations chocolate brown, coffee brown. Brown is one of the biggest colors for 2026. Of course, you can also go with cream, black, or even navy, whichever you prefer. But my personal suggestion is brown, especially coffee brown, because it makes the piece even more timeless. It's a boot that truly never goes out of style, one that radiates elegance and, when paired with other boho-inspired items, delivers that perfect boho elegant touch. For more daring women, there are also over-the-knee boots. This is a bold option with a slight slightly sensual vibe. It became a huge hit, especially after Chloe's runway show that featured tall boots holding up dresses and adding movement. These are not the most practical for daily wear, but they're an excellent choice for occasions when you want to feel powerful and glamorous. We also saw looser, softer versions with a slouchy effect, the famous slouch boot. But you can also choose a sleeker style without all that volume, especially if you don't like extra bulk around the legs. This boot looks stunning on very tall, slender, runway model type women. But in everyday life, especially for shorter or curvier women, it can appear too oversized and bulky. In that case, a classic over-the-knee boot without all the volume works perfectly well. And tell me, which boho style pieces would you love to have? If you could magically get one for free, which would you choose? Tell me in the comments. And of course, you know it helps me a lot if you leave today's magic words, which are Boho Chic 2026. I'm counting on your support to keep bringing new videos every day. Number 7 is boho dresses. Boho dresses are very light and flowy. These dresses also bring a sense of comfort to women. I believe they really add a magical touch. That's why it's definitely worth choosing a dress in a color that matches you. But keep in mind that when we talk about boho, we usually find some predominant tones, such as brown and green. Brown and green are always present in some way, but that doesn't mean you won't find other colors. In fact, it has become increasingly common to see black in these dresses, especially as a background for prints. So, you'll often see a print in the front with a darker background, which is ideal for fall and also for winter. This is the famous winter floral I always talk about here on the channel. Shades leaning towards ochre, yellow, orange, and red are also very common within this aesthetic. As for length, it varies, with long and midi lengths being the most common, and lengths just below the knee being less frequent. Shorter lengths are not forbidden, but they are less common. The idea here is usually to cover the legs a bit, but you'll also find looks that mix. For example, a boho blouse with a skirt, especially shorter skirts, like minis. Boho dresses usually come with a flowy touch and soft transparency. They may or may not include lining, but usually they do, to bring extra comfort. Many of them have sleeves, so it's very common to find dresses with puff sleeves, for instance. That doesn't mean you won't find sleeveless models, but most often they'll come with either short or slightly longer sleeves. These dresses are also often cinched at the waist, either with a tie made from the same fabric or with a belt. It's quite common to find pieces with this waist detail, which looks beautiful and really flatters the female silhouette. In many looks, you'll see these dresses paired with boots, as I mentioned earlier, and they can be either tall or short boots. A fresher option would be leather sandals, like strappy ones, or sandals made with natural materials such as raffia. Another bolder choice would be combat boots, which bring a more youthful and creative touch to the outfits while also being very comfortable. Boho dresses work really well both in summer and in winter. In other words, they're an excellent choice for women who don't want to have a huge variety of clothes in their wardrobe, and they are very stylish. So, if you're looking for that standout piece that makes an entrance and draws attention, a boho dress will definitely suit your aesthetic. It truly stands out, but won't look over the top if you know how to combine it well with the items we've already mentioned and the ones coming up next on the list. Number 8 is statement belts. These are unique, standout belts. Here, we'll have a wide variety. When we talk about boho style, we immediately think of leather belts, often tied, and also metal belts with embellishments. So, there's quite a range. The interesting part is that belts are in fashion. If you're a woman who already loves this accessory, you'll definitely be able to style it with the other items we've mentioned. The belt that feels the most boho, I'd say, is the full metal belt, as well as belts with small metal details. Usually, this metal won't look perfectly polished. It's often an aged gold or aged silver. The idea is to bring a more vintage vibe, like a thrifted piece. In fact, you can buy a belt from a thrift shop. It's an excellent choice and matches the boho aesthetic perfectly. If you don't want to go too bold but still want a statement belt, a great option is to focus on the buckle. You can choose a buckle that stands out without needing to be oversized. It could be a buckle with something written on it or with a design. That way, you get the standout effect of the belt without it being too flashy. A more practical option is to use simple belts. You can wear a belt you already own over a boho dress, achieving the same effect but without the bold statement look of a big belt. We always need to think of pieces you can wear in your daily life that won't make you feel uncomfortable, especially if you're a more discreet woman. So, start with the basic belt you already have at home and gradually invest in more unique belts. And as I mentioned before, choosing a thrifted belt, for example, will help you save money and give you a piece with that unique, one-of-a-kind feel. So, why not start by visiting that thrift shop near your house? And if you're enjoying this video, you'll love all the content I bring here to the channel, because here we talk about fashion, beauty, and tips everything to help you look more beautiful every day. So, don't forget to subscribe, and if you're already subscribed, check your subscription and, of course, hit the notification bell. That way, YouTube will let you know every time a new video comes out, made with all the love just for you. While you do that, let's continue with the video. Number 9 is fringes. Fringes also have that boho vibe. Here, fringes will appear on a variety of pieces. So, we're going to find fringes on jackets, fringes on bags, fringes on shoes, fringes on skirts. Here, you'll find all kinds of fringes. Not everyone likes fringes. I personally have no problem with them. I think they're super interesting. But I need to make a small note. Be careful with the length of the fringe and where you're going to wear it, because it might get caught on something. Who hasn't worn a piece with fringes only for it to get stuck somewhere? It's really annoying, right, ladies? Pretty unpleasant. Another thing you need to be careful about is storing these pieces, especially if we're talking about a full piece covered in fringes, like skirts or dresses. It's very common to damage this kind of piece if you put it in the washing machine or dryer. It's also very common that, with the rotating motion, the fringes get tangled. Another thing to watch out for is fringes that aren't exactly fringes. It's like they loop back to the beginning, as if you had an arc rather than a piece that ends, you know? These types are notorious for getting caught on things. Imagine just running your finger through them. Your finger could get stuck. Imagine a doorknob or a table corner. So, with these, you need to be extra careful. My tip, if you've never worn anything with fringes, is to start with pieces that have smaller fringes. And, of course, start with smaller items. You can start with shoes, a jacket, or a bag. Then you can move on to a skirt or a dress, something bigger. What I always see on the channel is women saying they bought a piece and ended up giving up on it because it wasn't really their style. And sometimes, it's not even that, it's that they started with something so eye-catching, it shocked them. It's like dyeing your hair a color you've never tried before, a color very different from what you normally wear. If I could choose one piece with fringes that I recommend, it would be bags. They bring that boho vibe, they're practical, you don't need to wear them every day, and they can be combined with lots of different looks. Plus, they're really easy to find in thrift stores. So, that's another affordable piece to include in your wardrobe. Number 10 is hats. Here, we're going to have a wide variety, ranging from cowboy hats to straw hats. The idea is to bring an extra accessory. Since it's a slightly bolder and more eye-catching accessory, not everyone will go for it. I'd say it really depends on your style. Straw hats give that spring and summer vibe, and they pair really well with a softer, more flowing style. You know those dresses with little or no print? Well, those dresses go perfectly with a straw hat. For pieces that are a bit more adorned, I recommend the cowboy hat. It works really well with prints, and also with patterns that resemble tapestries, so it pairs nicely with heavier, more decorated pieces. And, of course, it goes perfectly with boots, especially country boots. It's a simple, practical accessory that I highly recommend for the woman who wants to protect herself from the sun and still make a statement wherever she goes. And, of course, for the woman who wants to stand out even more this time, surprising everyone and making people think she lost weight overnight. I created this video where I share outfit tips that will make you look slimmer as if by magic. Want to know what they are? Just click on the video that's appearing on your screen. I'll see you there.